Good afternoon and welcome to the Rotary Club of Tulsa. Larry Boyer, Assistant Governor is here, and he should know that you're welcome to the largest Rotary Club in the largest Rotary district in the world. Larry, it's good to see you. Thanks for being with us. It's always a joy to be together as Rotarians, united in service. We've got a really outstanding program yet again today, and our tables are filling up to prove it. We're glad that you're here. We're going to start out with an invocation and pledge from Darren Walkup, followed by guest introductions from DJ Morrow Ingram.
All right. As we gather here today as members of Rotary, we pray that we are ever mindful of opportunities to render our services to fellow citizens and to our community, keeping in mind always the enduring values of life, exerting our efforts in those areas and on those things that upon which future generations can build with confidence. Let us continue to strive to make a better world. Join me with saying the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good afternoon. We have a number of visitors today, and I'm going to ask the host Rotarian and their visitor to stand, remain standing, and then we will give applause when we are finished so we don't show favoritism to anybody. Kudos to Brian Jackson, who brought 3 guests today. We have Brian Jackson hosting Stephen York. We have Brian hosting Kyle Coulter and Sandy Newsel, and thank you for writing out how that's supposed to be pronounced, and I hope I got it right. So there they are. Sarah Stokely has Holly Stanley, somewhere here, back there. Holly's in the Dancing with the Stars competition, by the way, for San Miguel School here. Blake Brewer, our speaker, has Roderick Hands. You don't have to stand. Andrea Nielsen Bartlett has Gary Bartlett. She has Greg Bartlett and Aaron Wendt. And then John Croissant has Jessica Woolard, commercial HVAC. And let's give them a round of applause. And we have from Southside Rotary today, Larry Boyer, and we all say, hi, Larry. Thank you for joining us, and please come back every week.
Chairman Bill Vogel, may I please take a point of presidential privilege here from the podium? Thank you, Chairman Bill Vogel, for your indulgence, sir. Bill's our chairman of board this year, and he's doing a great job. A no-nonsense guy with a good sense of humor is a huge benefit to our club. So I got a couple of shout-outs here. First of all, I want to do a shout-out to Eric Ortega. Eric's sitting over there. How many of you remember when we used to do a student 4-way speech contest? Does anybody remember that? Yeah, that was a good thing. Don't you think that if we had more of the principles embodied in the 4-way speech taught in our public schools, it would make a difference in the way our country runs? Well, I think so. And so Eric has agreed to help us restart that program. He's already got 1 student lined up, and I've got a professor or a teacher at Union Public Schools that has a couple of students. I'm excited about that. If you would be interested in helping Eric with that project and be on his team, he's sitting right over there. Eric, wave at us real quick. Please chat with him. It would be really good to give away a scholarship. I mean, Larry Boyer, don't we give away scholarships when people win the four-way speech contest? Sure. And you fund those personally, right? My second shout out today is to one of our new members, Phil Ashley. Phil, wave your hand. Phil has picked up the ball with Rotary Plaza. He and Curtis Craig and Jerry Stamper have met with a statuary maintenance contractor, and they're working up the plans to bring Rotary Plaza back up to exactly where it was when it was built. And I'm excited about seeing our image improved in that regard. If you would like to help Phil with that, he's sitting up front here. I know he would appreciate your assistance. Now, I need to introduce the 2025-2026 nominating committee. It consists of past presidents Paul Ballman, David Wagner, Tiffany Egdorf, Daniel Gomez, President-elect Karen McCannell, Directors at Large Kiden Creekpalm, Jerry Stamper, Joe Moore, and myself. Serving on the nominating committee is both an honor, a privilege, and a little bit intimidating. It's always inspiring to review the outstanding pool of talented and capable leaders within our club. We thank you for allowing us to serve in this capacity. It is now my honor to present to you the 2026-2027 leadership team for the Rotary Club of Tulsa. When your name is called, please come forward and line up in front of the stage. Our president for 26-27 is Karen McCannell. The immediate past president will be me. Club Foundation trustee on a 5-year term will be Jenny Hammock. Our secretary-treasurer will be the lovely and talented David Bryant. Our budget chair and secretary-treasurer-elect will be Dylan Harden, who is getting married on Saturday, in case you didn't know. And continuing directors at large will be Kiden Creekpalm and Jerry Stamper. Looks like a number of our future leaders are otherwise engaged today. Yeah, there you go. And now I get the privilege of introducing someone you've already seen today as our president-elect nominee, who will serve as the 114th president of our club. DJ Morrow Ingram, please approach the podium. This is a pretty awesome slate of leaders. If you've not gotten to know any of them, it's worth your time to invest in getting to know them better. Every one of them has distinguished themselves in service to this club, and I'm excited about our future with them in charge. Thank you so much for coming up front. You may be seated. Join me again. Now, here's the fine print. In accordance with club bylaws, any member may submit additional nominee to the proposed slate by the second Wednesday in November. Nominations must be submitted in writing and signed by 25 members of the club. May cause diarrhea. So if you would like to nominate someone else for any of those positions, you're welcome to do so. You get it on a piece of paper and get 25 signatures, and you can submit it. Today, we're going to celebrate the Rotary Club of Tulsa Foundation, which will be the beneficiary of the Golden Circle Gala. That is when? Friday night. Good job. Someone's listening. Our history of investing in this community is long and deeply impactful. Before the foundation was created, this is the Rotary Club of Tulsa Foundation, was created in 1972, our club gave to charities directly through operations, fundraisers, and special appeals. But then our club president in 1972 was Allen Edwards Jr., and he had a vision. You may remember that name, Allen Edwards, for something important in our club. He believed that there was a better, more sustainable way to serve in our community. And so the Community Fund, today known as the Rotary Club of Tulsa Foundation, was born. The founding purpose was clear, and this is what Mr. Allen said. For years, our club has given generously to the international Rotary Foundation, but we've been weak in our service to our own community. This Tulsa Rotary Foundation is intended to help our club become as strong in community service as we are in international understanding. This income from this foundation will be used to help fund local charitable projects. Those were his words in 1972. They still ring true today. Since 1972, our foundation has invested nearly $6 million in Tulsa area projects and nonprofit organizations. Ironically, the corpus of our foundation today is just about $6 million. It's also powered many of the signature programs of this club, things like Shop with a Cop, Camp Enterprise, Rotary Youth Exchange, international projects, the Above and Beyond Awards, the Crescendo Music Awards. I saw Kaiden come in a few minutes ago. Kaiden, thanks for your work on that. Up with Trees, Mike Chittum Partners in Education, Rotary Youth Leadership Academy, Human Trafficking Awareness, and many more. Those things are funded by our foundation. They're not funded out of the operating funds of this club. Those investments are possible because of three things: earnings from the corpus of that foundation, generous contributions of Rotarians and Friends of Rotary, and funds raised at our annual event coming up this Friday night. In 2012, the Allen Edwards Society was established to include the foundation in their estate plan. Allen himself, the founder of that, was the very first to be honored. Legacy donors who document a planned gift of $25,000 or more are recognized as members of this society. This Rotary year, 25 to 26, the foundation trustees awarded a total of $232,642 to nonprofit operations. Of that, $111,100 supports our club projects, and $121,542 funded Rotary Club of Tulsa Foundation grants. That's more money than my friend Gary Bartlett has in his hip pocket today. Our foundation is guided by a dedicated 5-member board of trustees who ensure careful stewardship of every dollar. And I've sat in these trustee meetings. I can tell you, they're looking at it. Please join me in thanking those trustees, and let me name them first. Phil Viles, one of our past presidents, Joe Moran, president of the foundation, Bill Vogel, vice president of the Rotary Club of Tulsa Foundation, Jan Laub, who is the treasurer, and Kathy Gurrell, the secretary. Please join me in thanking them. Thanks to the generosity of our members and supporters, the Rotary Club of Tulsa Foundation continues to fund projects that change lives here in Tulsa and around the world. So we thank you for your commitment to Rotary, your commitment to our foundation, and our shared mission to create improved lives and a better world. At this time, I will ask Kenny Brown, our Club Foundation Development Chair, for a side mic.
It's my honor to be the Development Committee Chair for the Foundation. Now, I recognize that most of you, when you hear the word foundation or endowment, you think I'm about to put you to sleep faster than turkey dinner on a Thanksgiving day. But that is not what's going to happen, so stick with me. Because of what I'm about to share is the heartbeat of our organization and our club's generosity. The Rotary Club of Tulsa Foundation, formerly known as the Tulsa Rotary Community Fund, history, isn't just a pile of money sitting in a vault somewhere. It's a quasi-endowment, which is a fancy way of just saying it's a living, breathing resource that fuels the good that we do here at home and around the world. Here's how it works. Just as President Carl said, it's a foundation that supports outreach programs like Camp Enterprise that inspire future leaders. It also reaches into our community by supporting local charitable organizations and even stretches across borders to fund international projects. And if you've ever wondered, where does that actual money go? The good news is, thanks to the wisdom of our local trustees, 90 to 95% of those grants funds stay right in our community, depending on the request. That means when you give, you're giving, not just sending dollars into the unknown, but you're investing directly right in here into Tulsa, directly into the lives that need lifting, and directly into the impact that you can see with your own eyes. Now the fun part, when it comes to giving, you can give cash, stock, real estate, legacy gifts, donor-advised funds, IRA qualified charitable funds, distributions, pretty much everything except your firstborn. But don't worry, we're not going to set up a crib in the Rotary office anytime soon. So now, this magic would not be possible without the committee members for the Foundation Development Committee members that make sure that it strives and grows. So I would like to introduce them to you today. Chaz Craig is here to stand up. Luke Beckham, Curtis Craig, and Karen McCannell. Thank you all for your service to the Rotary Club of Thunder.
I don't know if any of you noticed or not, but Ken Bruni snuck in the back door, and he's sitting at a table there in back. Go by and say hi to him before you leave today. It's good to see you, Ken. Thanks for being here. I get to introduce another fabulous Rotarian of the day. Brian Jackson is the Development Manager for Junior Achievement of Oklahoma, where he focuses on building long-lasting relationships, inspiring donors, and volunteers to empower young people to their own economic success. How many of you have gotten to know Brian Jackson while you're here? Have you noticed that Brian is really good at raising money without you feeling like you're giving away your life savings? He's good at that. I'm impressed. He earned his bachelor's degree at Oklahoma State University, OSU, Tulsa. Please welcome our Rotarian of the day, Brian Jackson.
Well, good afternoon, fellow Rotarians and guests. It's my distinct honor to be the Rotarian of today to introduce Blake Brewer. Now, he's a classmate of mine from our days at Charles Page High School, you got it, in beautiful Sand Springs, Oklahoma. That's right, there we go. Blake Brewer is a visionary leader and the founder of Legacy Letter Challenge, an organization with a mission to help 1 million people write at least one legacy letter to their children. Blake's powerful story and mission have touched the hearts of many, and he continues to share it with organizations, businesses, and communities across the country. Most recently, he was featured on the Dad's Got This segment on NBC's Today Show. And, get this, Huckabee with Governor Mike Huckabee. Fellow Rotarians and guests, future Rotarians, please welcome my friend Blake Brewer after a short video. 30 seconds.
Blake took something terrible, unthinkable,
I didn't see it
that happened in his life, and now he has used that to help, so far, tens of thousands of dads.
I think he's just getting started because I'm going to tell everybody.
A letter is that voice, whether you can hear it or you can read it, and that is a gift.
Thank you, Brian. Woo! Pig Suey! So, I was standing there at my freshman orientation at the University of Arkansas. I'd come over from Sand Springs. I had never heard that before in my life. And I was like, Mom, what are these people doing? Sounds a little crazy. And apparently I found out later, but the entire state does this. And so I was like, man, do I really want to go to school at a place that does this? But it was a little too late. I was already committed. I will say a few months later, at the first home game, after a touchdown, it was pretty awesome to do with about 70,000 people. And so it was about halfway through my freshman year that my mom called me. And she said, Blake, we're going to take a family vacation to Hawaii. I said, heck yeah, let's go. I've been down to Destin, Florida a few times, but I've never been over to Hawaii. And so first day there, we decided to go snorkeling at a place called Hanama Bay. And so it was my mom, my sister, my brother, and then my grandmother was with us on this trip. And so everybody was on the beach. And then just out in the water, it was just me and my dad. And so I have to share with you that there is nowhere else in the world that I wanted to be than right there with my dad. I was really fortunate. I had a really good dad. He was not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. And there was moments growing up where I was like, oh yeah, that's my dad. And then there were other moments where I was like, oh shoot, that's my dad. But overall, my dad was my hero. At the time, he was an administrator with Hillcrest. He was actually the CEO out at the Cleveland Hospital. But long before I was born, he was known as a football player. And so he was drafted by the Atlanta Falcons to play tight end. But his main claim to fame is that Terry Bradshaw was his quarterback at Louisiana Tech. And so they were best friends and roommates. My dad caught Bradshaw's first ever collegiate touchdown pass. Now, my dad was a very, here's one of my other favorite pictures. Right before the 1970 draft, they got invited to go up to the Oval Office and meet President Nixon. I don't know, does anybody remember the 1970 draft? Jerry, how old were you in 1970? But it was a big deal because Terry Bradshaw went number 1 to the Pittsburgh Steelers out of little Louisiana Tech. So my dad was a very humble guy. He hardly ever told anyone that he was Terry Bradshaw's tight end. But I told everybody. It was my claim to fame growing up. And so there we are out there in the water. And we started on the beach, and we just kept going further and further out. And we ended up in an area that I now know is called Witch's Brew, and we were right off that point on the far side of the screen. And Witch's Brew is known for its treacherous waters, and it was that day. And so I kind of pulled my head out of the water and realized, oh my gosh, like, man, these waves are huge, and where did my dad go? And so I couldn't see out very far because of the waves. I'd have to wait for a wave to kind of carry me up. I'm looking for him, and I see him. And I remember thinking, okay, good, there's my dad. Except not good, because my dad was struggling. And I could tell. One reason I knew is because he was trying to get out of the water. This was not a good place to get out of the water. The waves were just crashing against these rocks, and sure enough, about halfway up, wave hits my dad, knocks him back down in the water. I swim over there as quickly as I can. I can't find him anywhere, but now I'm exhausted, and I've got to get out of the water. The only place is the same place my dad tried. And so by the grace of God, in between the waves, I was able to climb up on top of these rocks. And so now I'm scanning the water, looking for him. Where'd he go? Oh, there he is. He's still treading water. And he looks up at me and says, I need help. I need help. And my dad had this really big, deep, booming voice. But this cry for help was more like a soft whimper. I turned around, I faced the beach, I'm beginning to just wave my arms. I'm yelling as loudly as I can, hoping that somebody might see me. They look like tiny ants. That's how far away they were. And so I turned back around towards my dad, and I had a decision to make. Am I going to stand here, or am I going to jump in after him? And I knew I couldn't just stand there. I jumped in, I swam about 10 yards to where he was, but now he's underneath the water, and he's unconscious, and he's just kind of floating there. And so I dive down, I wrap my arms around my dad, I bring him back up to the surface and began to try to swim with him to the shore. I had to go around those rocks, and it was about the edge of that point where I realized, man, there is no way I'm going to make it. I'm exhausted. And it was in that moment a nearby snorkeler showed up. And he began to help me get my dad to the shore. And then the lifeguards showed up, and they put him on a surfboard. They brought him the rest of the way in. And now we're on the beach, and they're doing CPR. And as I stood there next to him, I've never felt so helpless in my life. I did the only thing I knew to do. I just cried out to God. God, would you please save my dad's life? And I really thought that at any moment, my dad's going to come to. And it's going to be like the movies, where he kind of flickers his eyes and the water spews out of his mouth. It never happened. And so my dad drowned that day. And it went from one of the best days of my life to the worst, just like that. Now I'm standing there next to my dad's body. Like, what the heck just happened? We were just in the water a few minutes ago having the time of our life, and now my dad is gone forever. Fast forward a few hours, and now we're back in the condo. And we've got to start making some phone calls. My mom's in no condition to do it. It's on me as the oldest son. And so I had to call my dad's parents and break the news. They were devastated to learn they lost their son. That was a hard phone call to make. Called my dad's work. Called our church, Olivet Baptist. Called some other family members and family friends. I go to the back bedroom, and I'm sitting there on the edge of the bed. And the world just stood still in this moment as I began to understand the gravity of the situation. And I began to ask God, God, where were you? How are we going to make it without my dad? How am I going to make it without him? And it was in that moment that my mom appeared in the doorway. And she's holding something. And she said, Blake, I found something in your dad's briefcase, something that I know he was going to give you on this trip. And she walks across the room, and she hands me a letter from my dad. And I began to read this letter. And it was everything that I needed in that moment. And I've told people before, I don't know if I've ever heard my dad's voice more clearly than when I was reading that letter. And his voice comforted me, felt a sense of peace, felt hope that I was going to make it. And then I felt incredibly loved. Do not tell me that my dad did not love me. He took the time in the midst of his busy schedule with everything going on to put it down on paper. I get to the last line of this letter, and I really believe God allowed my dad to write this, but I wasn't surprised by it. My dad wrote, as you are being faithful to the Bible and to God, you're often going to find yourself in the minority here on earth. But I can assure you that in heaven, you'll be in the majority. Love your dear old dad. And I remember reading that and just thinking, man, I'm going to see my dad again. I can't imagine my life without this letter. In the coming days and weeks and months, I experienced more pain and grief than I'd ever felt in my life. I went back to Arkansas, and almost every night in the dorm room, I was crying myself to sleep. And my life was really at a crossroads. I realize it now more than I did then. But there's some decisions I could have made to try to escape the pain that I was feeling. I could have taken some things, drank some things. I know myself, I could have easily. I could have left this situation bitter at the world, bitter at God, a victim, anxious, depressed. And it was as if the complete opposite happened. Over the next 12 months, I would say I grew more as a leader, grew more as a person, grew more in my faith, grew closer to my family than any other 12-month stretch of my life. Discovered my life purpose. I had some professional counselors tell me, Blake, you have grieved this in a really healthy way compared to most people. I can only attribute that to my dad's letter. Because in the darkest moment of my life, my dad, my hero, he was still there for me. And he gave me what I needed. He gave me his voice. But that letter was so much more than that. Because through that letter, he gave more of himself to me. And so now for the last 22 years, my dad, through his letter, has continued to guide me, speak to me. I continue to hear his voice when times are good and then when times are hard. There's times when things are going really good with my wife, and there's times where we're butting heads and we're trying to make a big decision. There's times where I'm like, man, I've gotten off track of what I said my life purpose was. And all those times, my dad reminds me about what is most important. And then it was a few years ago when I became a dad. And I'm sitting there looking at my kids, like, man, I want to be a good dad here. I want to help them be successful. I want to help them reach their potential. And so that's Gracie Kate. She's my fourth grader. Gracie Kate's kind of a mouthful, so we named my son Bo. We were at the Drillers game last year, and there's that playground out past center field, and he said, Daddy, can I go play on that playground? I said, yeah, man, go for it. He goes, but I'm not going to tell him my name. I said, you're not going to tell him your name? Why not? And he goes, like a bow that you put in a girl's hair. I said, Bo, that's not your name. I was like, Bo, you got a strong name. I was like, think Bo Jackson. So we started watching Bo Jackson videos, baseball and football. And then we got Baylor, we got Brooks. We named them all B, man. It's kind of confusing them. Keep them straight. We got Brooks, who's 4. If he was in the room with us, he'd probably be in somebody's lap right now. Then we got baby Baylor. He's a year old. And so sitting there looking at them, man, how do I help them? How do I make sure they hear my voice in the world we're growing up in where there's a lot of noise out there? I know what I got to do. I got to write them a letter. If anyone knows the value of a letter from their dad, it's me. Pulled out a blank sheet of paper, and I got to say, I was overwhelmed looking at this blank sheet of paper, like, what the heck am I going to write? But I knew I had to finish this letter, and it took me several months. It was really hard to do. Started to do some research to understand, okay, what words do they need to hear from me? Like, if we're going to do this, let's do it right. Finished the letter, and I felt amazing to have this letter done. There was a sense of peace, knowing that how I felt about them, there's nothing left to doubt. It's right here on this paper. I did decide to read it to Gracie Kate, and so she was 4 at the time, and I said, Gracie Kate, I got something for you tonight. And I, normally I'm reading her like a book, like a princess book, but then I began to read this letter. And do we have any criers in the room? We got any criers? Anyone who's like, no, I am not a crier? Because wait till you read this letter. Because, man, the tears were just coming down my face. I could barely make it through it. I'm wondering, okay, what is she thinking right now? So I finished the letter, and I look up at her, and she looks right back at me. And she says, Daddy, can you read me the princess book now? Yeah. I read her the princess book. I think I cried during that too. But the next night at dinner, she went up to my wife and she said, last night Daddy read me a message. Can he read me that message again tonight? And so she didn't understand every concept in that letter, but she got the main one. She's got a daddy who loves her. And so it was really through that process, I just kind of had a realization. Man, what if everybody got a letter like what I got from my dad? And what if everybody got a letter like what my kids just got for me? And everybody took the time to write the letter, because that was life-changing for me just to write it. And we can change the world through legacy letters. And so that's where our mission began, to help 1 million people write at least one well-written, meaningful, lasting legacy letter. And so for the last 5 years now, I've guided about 20,000 people through writing their letter across the country. I had no idea when we started that financial advisors told me, Blake, we need this for our clients. And I started partnering with them. We've got Chaz in the room, Kenny's in the room, done this with them. Some business owners were like, man, we need this for our employees. Like, we want to communicate to them that we care about them. So they would bring me in to help them, their people write a legacy letter. And I would go section by section. Some people just sign up online, and they go through our online course, and they write this letter. But everyone who signs up to write this letter, I've realized that these are people that want to live for their legacy. And this is their first step. Man, I want to live for my legacy. And so that's what I want to spend the next few minutes talking about. And I think I'm already talking to the room that gets this. You are living for your legacy. You're living to serve others. And so the first thing that happens when you start to live for your legacy, man, you go from transactional relationships to transformational relationships. You start looking at the people in your life and say, hey, what role do I have in their life to transform their life? Whether it's a person I met on the street, a client, a neighbor, or my family. One of those guys is a guy named Travis Riggs, lives over in Northwest Arkansas. He heard my story. He said, Blake, I got to do this for my family. I got to write my legacy letter because I want to have a transformational relationship with my son, but I also want to do it with my clients. And so he invited some of his clients, and one of them was a guy named Justin Trawick. Justin is the senior vice president of Walmart. He went through it. He said, Blake, this is the best thing that I've ever done. And he said, I didn't know my dad growing up. I grew up in a small town in Texas, and my dad lived in that town. I'd see him at the grocery store. I knew it was my dad, but I had no relationship with him. And I had never been healed from that. And writing this legacy letter was a healing process for me. And Justin said, man, not only am I doing this for my family, but I got some other people. And so next thing you know, I'm at Walmart. I'm helping 8 different teams at Walmart writing a legacy letter, and became this team building exercise. And one of those was a guy named Kent Morris. And Kent Morris, really good dad, loved his family. And first off, he said, man, I don't know if I really need to do this. My kids know how I feel about them. They're doing pretty good. We got to working on his letter, and he got it. And he got it. And he could not wait to give his letters to his 3 sons and an adult daughter. He decided to give them on Christmas morning. And he got some little wooden boxes, put some family heirlooms in each one, and they're all opening it up one by one. And his sons loved it. Like to hear from their dad how much he loves them and how proud he is of them. But then it was his daughter. 31 years old, young mom. She goes home that day from Christmas celebration, and she calls back that night. Dad's gone to bed, so she gets Mom. She says, Mom, this is the best Christmas that I've ever had in my life. And Mom says, well, you know, we love hosting you. We love having everybody here. And she goes, no, Mom. It was Dad's letter. Dad's letter has brought closure into my life because I did not know how much Dad really loved me. I just assumed that he loved my brothers more than me because he's always hunting with them and fishing with them, and they've got bonding over sports. But now I see through this letter how much Dad really loved me. Loves me. I asked Kent, I said, Kent, man, did you have any idea that your daughter was having those thoughts? He said, man, I had no idea. And he said, the truth is, we spent twice as much money on her as we did the boys. But here's the thing. We're all telling ourselves a story about how much we love our family, and they're also telling themselves a story about how much you love them. And there's no way that this story is matching up perfectly. And so this legacy letter is about getting the story right, leaving nothing to doubt. No, this is what I think about you. This is how I feel about you. The second thing, when you start to live for your legacy, man, no assumptions, only affirmations, clear communications. We don't want to assume anything. A few years ago, it was last summer, we were over in Hot Springs Village, Arkansas, where my mom and stepdad live. And Bo wanted to catch bass. And he's caught some perch before, but he's never caught a bass. And he never used an artificial lure. So we're out there all day long trying to catch a bass with this plastic worm. And the fish are out there because I'm catching them, but he's not. And man, it was getting hot, middle of the afternoon. He's still going. Then all of a sudden I hear a, Dad, I'm going. And I look and the pole is like bent over sideways, and I'm running over there as quickly as I can. Like I'm practically jumping in the lake to get this fish out to land it. Man, we're not letting this one go. And I pull it out, and man, he's jumping up and down. I'm jumping up and down. It's just like really exciting moment. Pretty good sized bass, I'd say. and man, it was just really cool memory. Well, then that night, Bo comes up to me and he says, Daddy, are you so proud of me for catching that bass? Oh, what a great question. And I'm so glad that he asked it, because it matters, the things that I tell him that I'm proud of. And it matters what I affirm him for, because what I affirm him for, I'm sending a signal, and that's what he's going to repeat. And I know that he's going to be asking this question for the rest of his life. Daddy, are you proud of me? When he's 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, the difference is he won't say it out loud. But when he's 6 and he has the innocence of a 6-year-old, he asks me out loud. What an opportunity. I said, Bo, I'm not proud of you for catching that bass. I said, I'm really happy for you. I said, it brought me a lot of joy watching you. Why? Because I knew that that's something that you really wanted. And I saw how happy it made you and how much joy it brought you. So it brought me joy. I said, I'll tell you what I'm proud of, though. I said, Bo, you stayed out there all day. Man, you showed some grit. You showed some determination. Other kids your age would have given up, but you stayed with it. Man, that's what I'm proud of. And I sent a signal that day. Number 3, as you start to live for your legacy, you start to move from success to significance. Not just successful in the world, but man, you want to be significant. And you want to be significant to the people that matter most to you in your life. Let me tell you about Jeff Teagues. Jeff Teagues is a retired member of Delta Force. And he's done some incredible things around the world. He's told me stories. It's one of the most highly trained, skilled people on the planet. He's been in situations where he almost lost his life, serving our country. And he retired, and I got introduced to him, and he heard my story and what I do, and he said, Blake, I got to write my legacy letter. He said, I've got 2 sons at home. They're in their 20s now. Man, I was deployed all the time. Man, I love my sons. I did the best that I could to be there for them. But I want to have more of a transformational relationship with them. I want to be significant in their life. He said, what do I got to do? So he signed up for the Legacy Letter program, $97. He said, man, to have this letter in my kid's life, I'll pay whatever for them to know how I feel about them and to have a relationship with them that I don't currently have. It was good, but not great. And so he went through it, wrote his legacy letter, and man, he couldn't wait to give them. And not everyone does this, but he also gave them on Christmas morning. And his sons started opening up their presents, and they realized, hey, they got a letter. And they kind of didn't know what to do about that. Like, oh, a letter for Christmas. Not the normal present there. And he said, hey, just go read that on your own. And so they went home that night. They come back. They had read the letter. And Jeff is just like anyone when they finish the letter. Like, he's nervous, anxious, like, how are they going to respond to this? And he said that they walked up to him and each gave him a little bro hug and said, Dad, thanks for the letter. And he told me, I was thinking, that's all you're going to say? Like, I poured my heart and soul into this thing, and all you're going to say is, hey, Dad, thanks for the letter. But he said, I didn't push it. I didn't press it. Several more months go by, nothing else. 6 months go by. He gets a call from his buddy. And his buddy says, hey, Jeff, I was just hanging out with your son. And he told me that you wrote him a letter this past Christmas. Your son told me that it's his most treasured possession, that he reads it every single week. I called his son. I asked Jeff, hey, can I call him? He said, yeah, and I called him, and he said, man, the first time I read that letter was the closest that I'd ever felt to my dad in my life. And that's the power of this legacy letter. And so the only question I have for you today is, your family going to get one? On the screen is a QR code. It's also on the back of the sheet there. I'd love for you guys to take all those sheets. We've got some free things that you can take, and also to get you started on your legacy letter. So I'd encourage everybody in this room to take that, give us your information. We'll send you some stuff, get you started on your legacy letter. You can sign up for the legacy letter program. And if you have some people, it's like, hey, I got some people I want to help write their legacy letter, like Chaz or Kenny. And we can help them write their legacy letter, and we can get you some information about that. Do we have any questions over here? Does anybody have any questions about anything? No dumb questions. All right, there we go. Yeah, great question. I'm glad that you asked it. So is this a letter that you write once, and then maybe also when do you give it? And so my mission is to help you write at least one. I want everyone to have at least one. But if I could have it anyway, everybody would get one when they're born. Like when Baylor we found out we were pregnant with Baylor, man, I'm starting to write him a letter. Because he's not promised to have me. I don't know when my last day is going to be, and he's going to want to know. Hey, what did my dad think about me? And so when he was born, I finished it up. But then as a toddler, during the elementary school years, junior high, high school, getting married, you can write different ones. But let me say this, it's never too late to write a legacy letter. And so I don't know what your situation is right now. There's a lot of people that come into this and say, man, I don't even have a relationship with my children. I'm currently estranged. And they're writing this letter in hopes they can have a relationship again. And maybe your children, you have a great relationship with them, and you just want to keep it that way. Good question. Thank you. Mr. Jerry Dillon. My dad is buried over there in Sand Springs at Jerry Cemetery.
I have a concern about children who are growing up without a loving father, or any contact with their father. And I'm wondering what we might, those of us who might know those children at church or at school in some way, is there a letter that we might write, not as a father, but as a loving male that would show some interest? So I'm just thinking about those children that deserve to have a letter that will never get one, unlikely.
Yeah, that would be amazing, and people do that. It doesn't replace the father, but to have somebody in your life. This is one reason we do some stuff with big brothers and big sisters in Kansas City. And it's like some of those kids, most of them don't have somebody in their life that believes in them. And so that's why I love that organization, and we've helped them write some legacy letters to those children so that they can get a letter too. Thank you, Jerry. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
I know you showed the QR code and you had it briefly up on screen, but can you share with us an outline of what a legacy letter looks like?
Yep. In a legacy letter, and if you get the QR code, like you'll get all this, but it's the intro section, so you're setting the stage for what's about to come, the apology section, and so I just say, hey, there's some walls that have been built between you and your loved ones, and you're about to write some unbelievable, amazing stuff. You do not want a wall to be blocking any of this, and so I help people apologize to break down that wall. And then the next section is I love you, to really help them understand the depth of your love for them. I'm proud of you. And so picking out some different character traits to affirm them for. I believe in you is the next section. And then putting some special memories into the letter. And then there's the advice section of the letter. So coming up with some advice to share. And I help people share this in a humble way so that it can be received. And then there's the closing paragraph as well. Thank you.
One more question.
One of the comment and a question. So I went through one of the online workshops, and then also hosted in person one for several of my clients, which was Blake. And there's a lot more than just this outline. You really, the pointers that are provided, honestly, a little bit of the verbiage was, I made my own. The including it in my letter is just so good. Like, it flows from you. It really makes it as easy as possible. And it's been very meaningful for me. Just want to say thank you.
Well, thank you, Chaz. We do have the season of legacy, so we have different seasons. And like we just finished the summer of legacy. I was going live every Monday on a live stream, and people come in from all over the country on Zoom, and really the world. And so October, November, December, I'm going live every Monday. Would love for you guys to join me on that. Thanksgiving and Christmas is a really popular time around family to give this letter.
Thank you, Blake. Blake, for the record, this is a rowdy bunch of individuals. I've never seen one of our presenters receive such rapt attention from everyone in the room for the whole presentation. It was very well done. I'm grateful that you came today to share with us. Thank you so much. Like every speaker, we donate a book to our partner in education, Celia Clinton. Brian helps us with Celia Clinton quite a bit. And the book today is Una Carta de tu Maestra, which is a letter from your teacher. I thought Jenny Hammock did a great job picking this one out. I saw Jack McGlumphy is here today. Jack, it's good to see you. I'm glad you came. I got a little reminder for you. If any of you were planning on wearing cut-off denim shorts or excessively large cowboy hats to the Golden Circle Gala, we'll ask you not to do that. If you would please dress, at least, it's black tie optional. I'll be wearing a dark suit like this and a tie, and certainly we'll hope to sort of have a dignified event. So Sheree wanted to make sure. Yeah, me in a dignified event, that's a rare thing. So, and if you missed the opportunity, we had to close the ticket sales for Golden Circle Gala on Friday, but if you are nice to Sheree, she may be able to help you get a ticket or two. Phil Ashley, who's helping us with the Rotary Plaza, hit it a little bit late, and she's going to be able to help him with a couple of tickets, so don't forget that. We have... Believe it or not, we have some more really good speakers coming up. Look around the room. We have full tables, folks. This is tremendous. We need to be adding more tables soon because our speaker on October 1st is Teresa Knox from the Sanctuary of Sound. She always does a great job. She's been here before. The following week, it's not Sid McAnally, as I said last week. It's actually Macy Snyder Amatucci. I'm real interested to hear what she has to say because John, her husband, is working on Price Tower right now. I happen to know the elevator guy at Price Tower really well, and he's been telling me of stories of all the things that they're having to deal with there. So I'm hoping she shares some about that as well as the other history. And then, of course, Sid McAnally coming on October 15th. Every one of these programs is worthy of any guest you would care to bring to our meeting. I hope you will invite a friend to come. Today we have two committee meetings. We've got a Club Foundation Grants Committee meeting in room 231, speaking of foundations and grants, and then Club Foundation Development is in room 232. After hearing Blake speak, I think we kind of lived through our legacy, and the Rotary Club of Tulsa is one of our legacies. Kenny, I appreciate your work on that foundation. Chaz worked on that for us last year. Derek's helping us this year. We're grateful that we have that legacy for our club. I want to thank all of our sponsors. You see our sponsors' names on the table. They're featured front and center on our website. Your sponsorship helps us strengthen our programs like this and make it possible for our club to thrive. We appreciate our sponsors' partnership with the club. Thank you all for being here today. I look forward to seeing you at the Golden Circle Gala or next Wednesday. We are adjourned.